Well, we got a ton of hardcore college basketball fans here, and Jeff Goodman and his crew at the Field of 68 put together the Almanac, an 800-page preview of the college basketball season. And if you're a Big Ten fan, if you're a Missouri Valley fan, if you're a MEAC fan, heck, you can get all the information you need. And Jeff Goodman joined us now, kind enough to give us some time. Congrats on this, Jeff. I know you guys put a ton of work into this, and it shows in the product, man.
Yeah, we did. And it's not, it's more the young guys than me. But it's really good. Like, I can say that it's going to live up to the hype that I put out there, which will say it's the best preseason publication by far because of the accuracy. And it's hard to be accurate these days because there's so many changes, right? So we went through every roster, projected start. Obviously, some things are going to change, and projected starters aren't etched in stone anywhere, especially with the Illini right now, but any team. So we've done our best to make it the most accurate product. And again, like you said, you got 1,300 words on everybody from Illinois to Illinois State to Texas Southern. You've got anonymous quotes and anonymous polls that I did for every league: best X's and O's guy, best NBA prospect, breakout, you name it, best venue, toughest venue to play in. So it's got a little bit of everything for everybody.
Yeah, I've just sunk my teeth into it a little bit. I can't wait to go further into it. So any basketball fans here, I definitely encourage you to get it. I love your preseason top 25 here, Jeff, because the Big Ten, I had to do the athletic poll. And, Indiana's a team I like. Illinois is a team I like, but that's a team I'd like to put 3 or 4 as like a surprise contender. Yes. You guys have no Big Ten teams top 19. I love that because that's how I feel. I feel like it's a bunch of competitive, maybe good teams. Yep. I don't feel great about any of them. It should make for a fun year at least. But what do you make of the Big Ten?
Yeah, it's a down year. I mean, simply put, it's a down year. It looks that way on the Big Ten. I mean, lost a ton from last year, which opens it up. When you put an Indiana team, and listen, I'm wearing this for my daughter. You love how I'm the only idiot who wear an Illinois hat and an Indiana sweatshirt, but in full disclosure, my daughter's a freshman at Indiana. So it's kind of the only gear that I wear publicly right now is Indiana because I pay $51,000 a year. So I feel like I need to. To me, an Indiana team that had to beat Michigan and Illinois last year, and I was there for that Illinois game in the Big Ten tournament, they don't win either of those, both of them. They have to win both of them to get in the tournament in the first 4. Otherwise, they're not even in the NCAA tournament last year. So it just goes to show you how different one game can make with kind of the mantra and everything, because everybody's got them at number 1. Everybody's saying what a great job Mike Woodson did. But if they lose to Illinois and they don't get in the NCAA tournament, it's a completely different story going into the season this year. It's, can Mike Woodson get it done? Right? Like, how good are they? Now they got, Jalen Hood-Schifino is talented as hell, right? Tamar Bates could make a jump. But I still question Indiana and their big. I question every team in the Big Ten. I just went by Illinois. I question Illinois. I question Indiana. I certainly question Michigan State and Michigan. That's why, like you said, there's no team in the top 15 and barely a team in the top 20. And listen, some people have Indiana at number 6 preseason. Like, what are you smoking? Like, I get it. Maybe they end up being the number 6 team in the country, but right now to put them at number 6 in the country is like, whoa.
Yeah, Jeff, and I feel like Illinois at number 2, I don't like doing it there, but they're one of the most talented teams. I feel like Illinois is kind of a team of the moment in that the transfer portal, NIL, like Illinois has embraced these things. Brad Underwood, who's 58 years old, has really embraced these things. Well, like Michigan State, Tom Izzo's recruiting well, but the transfer portal, he's kind of, out of step with, it feels like a little bit, if that's fair. Purdue and Matt Painter, NIL, they're kind of behind. Even Michigan's trying to catch up in NIL. Meanwhile, you got Brad Underwood kind of, embracing all these things.
He loves it, doesn't he?
Yeah, kind of excelling all of these.
At least he says he loves it. And that's all you have to do. Whether you love it or hate it, publicly just say how much you love it, because if you say you hate it, you're not going to get recruits.
It just feels like him and Chris Holtman are embracing those things.
Yes.
Well, some of the rest of the league may be catching up. And that's why, I mean, Illinois and Ohio State should be rebuilding, but I think they're two of the top 5 teams in the league.
I think so. I mean, I think so. You know, I went there and on paper, I loved them. And then when I saw them in person, and RJ got hurt the day I was there pretty early in practice. I don't think it was any, I haven't even checked back, but it was an ankle deal. And Brad didn't seem worried about it at all. I think it happens semi-frequently from what he said with RJ. He kind of goes down, he's fine. So I think he's fine. Myers struggled a little bit in practice, and he wasn't great that day. He was okay in spurts. I think Terrence Shannon is going to be the best player for Illinois this year. I'd be shocked if he's not. I know a lot of people have Coleman Hawkins as like this breakout guy. I think he'll take a step, but I don't think he's going to be this huge breakout guy that averages, 17 and 8. I think he might average, 12 and 6. Mm-hmm. But I think this team is going to be built on balance. And to me, and I think Brad has downplayed it a little bit because he's saying, like, we're going to use a lot of different ball handlers. We're not going to rely on a point guard necessarily. My take always is, if you don't have a high-level point guard, there is a major ceiling on what you can accomplish. And to me, Skyy Clark is kind of the key in a way, right? Like, Jayden Epps is not really, from watching him, he's more of a 2 trying to be a 1. And he's got a long way to go with that. I think he can get there, but he's more of a guy that right now is more about scoring and learning how to run a team. Skyy obviously hasn't played for a while, but I feel like if Skyy isn't by conference play, if Skyy Clark isn't one of the at least middle tier point guards in the Big Ten, if he's one of the bottom tier, you're in trouble.
Oh, I agree completely. Like this team does have a much lower floor, and that's why, there's kind of this narrative sometimes, Jeff, of, oh, Kofi's gone, now Illinois will be better.
Yeah.
And I fight against that. Like, I understand you can be more versatile. Maybe you have a higher ceiling in the tournament.
Correct.
Such a high floor with Kofi Cockburn, and he's a 2-time All-American. So I'm excited.
It's kind of dumb, right? Like, you hear it and you're like, I understand it. Like you said, in the NCAA tournament, in one game against, whether it was Loyola Chicago, whether it's some of those mid-majors, Kentucky dealt with it with St. Peter's, where they're smaller, they can space you out, they can make threes, they can drive it on you. Listen, Kofi was a liability defensively. He was against those teams. There's no other way of saying it, because you can trade threes for 2s. You can go into Kofi all you want. You're getting 2s. If they're making 3s, they're going to have a chance to beat you in the NCAA tournament. So I get it. But in the regular season, I'll take Kofi all day long. And then, I don't know, do I take my chance? We're going to see with like Oscar. Obviously, last year, Kentucky loses. Hunter, they made it to the Sweet 16. Michigan, they weren't great in the regular season. A lot of these, like old Trace, Jackson Davis, they barely made the tournament last year. A lot of these guys haven't really, their teams haven't gone deep in the Drew Timme, I guess, did, 2 years ago. Obviously, they got to the championship game when they didn't have Chet Holmgren, Gonzaga, but they had some dudes around them too.
You mentioned Terrence Shannon. I'm really high on him. And Matthew Meyer. Those are proven high-level starters, Jeff. I know you watched a lot of Big 12 ball. Do you think they can be stars for a Big Ten?
Shannon can. I don't think Meyer can. And I love Matt. I love Matt to death. I don't know if he can be a star. I think Shannon can be a star. I think he can be a guy who averages, who can be a first-team all Big Ten guy. I think Meyer's a great piece, and he's going to have some games that he'll go for 20 and look like an NBA lottery pick. And then I think he's going to have some games that he'll probably score 4 points. And I just want to see Matt Meyer do it consistently. And we haven't seen it yet. We didn't need to see it from him out of Baylor until last year. And even last year, he was inconsistent. I think the same thing, maybe said about Coleman Hawkins this year. I think he'll probably be up and down, right? I don't think he'll be super consistent. That's going to be the beauty of this team on one hand. And and Brad pulling out his hair on another, because the hardest thing for a coach is not knowing what they're going to get day to day out of their players, right? That's the most frustrating thing. They want to know, you pencil in a guy, you know what you're going to get. I think you're going to be able to do that with Terrence Shannon. I'm not sure there's another guy on the team. Ty Rodgers, maybe.
That's what I was going to say. A freshman, yeah. Ty Rodgers.
He's the only other one. Those are the only two that I feel confident that, like, I know what they're going to get if you throw them out there every single game. Now, Ty might be a 10, 4-4 guy at the end of the day, right? Like, he might probably average between 8 and 10 points a game. He'll probably average between, 4 or 5 rebounds, 3 or 4 assists, get a steal. Like, the impact of Ty Rodgers is not going to be shown through the box score.
No. I do want to ask you about Coleman Hawkins, because everyone, he's got some of that draft buzz because he's kind of what they want in the NBA. But as you said, up and down, there's a maturity I think he's got to go through here as a veteran. But what I would tell him is be Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. If you're that, I think that's what the NBA is going to want, because he can shoot a little bit, he can dribble a little bit, but defensively, we saw him against Keegan, against Ron Harper Jr. That's where he can make his money.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he is that long and versatile forward that the NBA wants. And listen, if he can guard 1 through 5 or 2 through 5 at the end of the day, he'll have a chance, especially if he can make, can he make a 3 a game, and shoot in the high 30s, mid to high 30s from 3. Yeah, listen, there's no reason he can't. They're going to have enough weapons around him, and they're going to play a style that I think in transition, guys are going to get some shots, and they're going to get more shots. That's the one beauty of the way they're going to play and the way they're going to guard. They should be able to get some easy baskets this year, and they're not going to just play through Kofi, right? And I think Danger is going to be interesting to see what he can give you. I'm not sure. That's another question mark, right? There are a lot of question marks. It's funny because, again, we're talking about this team like it's a team that can go to the Final Four, and like maybe it can if everything goes right. They're going to be fun to watch because the style is going to be so different. But again, you don't know what you're going to get out of Danger. You don't know what you're going to get out of Skyy, Meyer, all the RJ. Like, is RJ going to take that step? I think he's super important for this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a team that I can see, going in and beating a team people don't expect them to. Maybe it's UCLA, and then the next night getting beat by 30 by Baylor. Yeah. I just think early on you're going to see the ups and downs, and it's going to be
going to Vegas, Jeremy. You going to Vegas?
Of course I am.
I think I am too. My only way of getting this done, I travel so much in November because I want to see so many teams. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out my schedule, right? Champions Classic to start. And then from there, I think I'm going to go to Gonzaga, Texas. And then I'm already out in Texas. And my daughter gets out of Thanksgiving break. So instead of my daughter flying home, I basically said to her, she's now a sports fan and loves this. I said, how about you meet us in Vegas, my wife and I? And my wife likes Vegas, and she loves Vegas, and she loves Scott Drew.
Yeah.
In full disclosure, she loves Scott Drew because nobody has been better to my daughter about giving her confidence in this industry as she's starting out than the Baylor head coach. And in fact, they win the national title 2 years ago, and he's on a group chat with me and my daughter, and he texts her literally that Tuesday morning. He says to her, when are we doing our interview? Tuesday morning. Awesome. He hasn't slept yet. And they ended up doing the interview Thursday. So anybody that is that good to your kid, it's hard. Like, I want to be, and I am objective. Listen, if the guy doesn't win, the guy doesn't win. Now it's hard to say anything negative about what Scott Drew's done at Baylor over the last 3-4 years, right? I mean, he's been ridiculous. So I'm going to get out there for that. It was an easy sell to Talia, is just told her the field in Vegas. And she was like, yeah, I'd rather do that than go home. So, she'll get home, but it'll be a few days later.
Well, and it's fun that Illinois is a part of those things again, Jeff. If we want to go full, like they're in the Jimmy V Classic again.
Yep.
And I know they're hungry for second weekend success in the NCAA tournament, but they're clearly a player again. So just overall, what do you think about what Brad Underwood has done?
He's perfect for that fan base, right? He embraces it. He gets it. And I think part of it is he worked a long time to get there.
Yeah.
To have that, right? Like he's grinded it out. So I think he's very appreciative of where he's at and, grinding as an assistant and then being at Stephen F. Austin and, obviously the year at Oklahoma State. But I think there's a lot of coaches that can't handle or don't want to deal with the Illinois fan base and the insanity that those fans bring. In a good way and a bad way. I like it generally. I have fun with it, with all these fan bases that are nuts, but they're hungry, and that's the beauty. Some are unrealistic in their expectations. I actually don't think Illinois is as unrealistic as some of the other ones. Like NC State, completely unrealistic, in their expectations. Some of these other ones that, even Indiana to some extent, right? They're more unrealistic than Illinois fans, because they think they should be winning national titles. I think Illinois fans are just saying, like, we want to get to the second weekend. If we get to the second weekend, a couple times in every 4 years, 2 out of every 4 years, correct me if I'm wrong here, they'd want more then. They'd eventually want more, but they'd be happy as hell with that.
Yeah, especially given where they've come from. Like, it's just like Illinois football fans. They say, just give me the bowl games, I'll be happy. Well, 3-4 years of that, you're going to want more.
Listen, you can't lose to Indiana football. First of all, you cannot. That is an embarrassment. Okay.
But you know what I mean? Like, they're going to want more at some point, getting the second weekends. But yes, you're right. I think that's the next step that they want as a program, but they know they're a player. Like, what is that? What else is unique about this fan base, Jeff? Because I love your rankings of craziest fan bases, and Illinois is always up there.
I just, again, they're unique because they will hold you accountable. They will call you out. I don't listen. You know me. I don't give a shit. Like, you say whatever you want about me. I don't call me every name in the book. It really doesn't matter to me at this stage of my career in life. The only hard part now is my daughter's on Twitter now, so she sees this stuff. And if I go back at people, she sees that I go back at people. So I'm not a good role model for her to some degree as she's looking to get into sports media. But Illinois fans are passionate. They're knowledgeable. I love going to games there. I got to say, maybe, and I just actually we did a podcast with Kelvin Sampson that'll probably be out by the time our pod is out. And one of the things I talked to him about at the end, I said, hey, man, the second best atmosphere I've ever been in, the number one might have been last year when Chris Beard went back to Texas Tech. I've never seen anything so hostile. Okay. Like Duke, Carolina, Louisville, Kentucky, they're great environments. Don't get me wrong. But this environment, I don't know if you saw the videos I put out there last year, Beard, the bus, and 3,000 fans at night converging on the bus. I thought they were going to tip the damn bus. They hate Chris Beard, hate him. The second best, and I was talking to Kelvin, you know where I'm going with this, because I was there for that game, was when Eric Gordon went back to Champaign. It was effing out of control. It was so good. It's one of those games that you like check off that you're like, I was there for that. And
I was a student reporter. I was a student reporter.
Were you?
And I I was a columnist, Jeff, and I said, I hope Illinois fans got that out of their system, because it got ugly.
Ugly. The things that were said. I mean, I remember his dad coming down the steps surrounded by security to walk in that building that night. It was that level of animosity and hatred. And I get it. I mean, I get it. Obviously, the kid was committed and coming, and Kelvin. The funniest part of that is I remember calling Kelvin. I didn't know him well at that point, and called him, maybe because he was dealing with the illegal phone calls then too. And we were talking off the record. And I was like, well, you guys are recruiting Eric Gordon. And he's like, no, we're not. I said, Kelvin, don't bullshit me. I said, I was just at the Peach Jam. I just followed around your assistant, Jeff Meyer, for 6 games, because I couldn't stop watching Derrick Rose and Eric Gordon. So I wanted to be at every game they're at. I still think it's the best backcourt I've ever seen in 20 plus years of covering AAU basketball. So I was like, Kelvin, don't bullshit me. I saw your assistant there for every game. I know you're recruiting the kid. Come on.
Yeah. Kelvin's, now you look back at it, it's just some phone calls.
Right.
He's a heck of a coach. But
hell of a coach.
He'll always be evil around these parts.
Imagine what Indiana would have been like. Think of how good they could have been, because they had it go. Like, people forget how good they were that year with Eric Gordon, DJ White. They were friggin' loaded.
Yeah, they were really good. Jeff, I want to ask you this. You've had such a great career. You've done so many different things. I mean, ESPN, following the balls, right?
Don't put that in great things.
I know, that was an experience.
Going to Lithuania was fun. Covering the balls in Lithuania, not so much fun.
I just want to, what do you feel about how you're at now, building your own thing, to a much smaller level? I've done that in this digital age. What has this been like for you, this chapter of your career?
Yeah, I mean, autonomy is everything, and working for Stadium has given me a lot of autonomy, and helping Rob Doster start up Field of 68 and now Field of 12 has been fun. I mean, it's been fun helping Rob. He was laid off a couple of years ago, and a friend of mine. And I guess that's the difference now, right? When you hit this point in your career, it's more, especially watching my daughter have a love for sports media and want to get into it. She's doing her first sideline today for Indiana field hockey.
Awesome.
And I'm so excited, nervous for her, everything. I think it's helping young guys in this industry. And I think part of it, Jeremy, is we see where media is going, right? You and I do it a certain way. We've been taught a certain way. And listen, Barstool's making a ton of money. They're making more money than I'll ever make in my life, right? It's not what I would do. It's not how I would do it. It's not how I'm teaching my daughter how to do it. There are a lot of kids that love it out there. I get it. It's entertaining. But I want to try to teach a lot of these young guys breaking in to college basketball that have a passion for it and want to get into the media and want to make a living doing it. You don't have to do it that way. You can be entertaining. Listen, I can be as big a knucklehead as anybody on Twitter. You know that. But ultimately, at my core, it's going to be based on working hard, information, having opinions, but having informed opinions. That's the key. Not just putting shit out there that you don't know anything about, whoever it is, like ESPN, they've got a lot of great people and a lot of friends of mine, Scott Van Pelt, Kevin Nagandi, Field Yates. I mean, I can go down the list of great people. And then they got a lot of people on there now that don't know what the hell they're talking about. Right. And it's frustrating to me that that's the way the media is headed right now. That everybody can have an opinion, that anybody can have an Instagram account or a blog or whatever and put out there, and it's it's instead of doing the hard work, people are just I'm just gonna, these lists, there's these sites that come out now. So this site put out a list about a month ago of I don't know if it was the best college basketball media or whatever.
Yeah. And
I was second on the list. All right. And it's some young kid who has no idea what he's talking about. And he's just looking for clicks.
Mm-hmm.
And I DM'd him and I'm like, this is not a good list. And I was second. I wasn't complaining about me at all. I don't care. But there were a bunch of people on there that shouldn't have been on there. And there were a bunch of people that weren't on there that were deserving of being on there and weren't. And it's I shouldn't even been second. I'm not at that point, maybe 10 years ago, but I'm not at the point where I should be second right now. And I don't know. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating. But to answer your question, I've been lucky. I kind of, just lucked into this career. I wanted to do it since I interviewed James Worthy when I was 15 years old. So I've always wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been able to do exactly what I pretty much wanted to do in my career, which is crazy in a way.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Jeff. You've always been good to me, whether it's me bugging you at Big Ten Media Days or doing this. So appreciate it. And Illini fans, check out this almanac, man. It is chock full of great information. Jeff Goodman, Field of 68 Stadium. Man, we really appreciate your time.
All right. I'll see you in Champaign this year for sure.